Part 3. The World. Thran Phyrexian War Day 3. Battle of Megaden Defile. Megaden Defile had become a meat grinder. Dwarves, Minotaurs, Thran, Phyrexians, Houseites. They fought among the dead. When the third day of battle dawned, the Thran and their barbarian allies were entrenched behind the walls of bodies. They could not retreat into the defile. Housite airships commanded the skies over it. Neither could they break through it. Housite monsters and machines commanded the desert. The Thran allies could only hunker down the middle ground and fire what missiles remained to them. Meanwhile, Phyrexian catapults made missiles of the dead Thran. Putrid meat rained sporadically from the skies. Dwarven Commander Curtisworthy shielded his red beard from the latest hail of gobbets.
"Monsters!"
he hissed as the hunks pattered his mail back. He had seen Phyrexians up close now, and knew them to be monsters. Yawmoth had changed them. Horns, sagittal crests, spiked barrows, saucer eyes, snake fangs, distended jaws, bifurcated tongues, barbed shoulders, scimitar claws, carapace and scale, stinger and tail, slashing, bashing, eviscerating. They were monsters. There was nothing of fear or regret in them. There was only killing. So, the Thran allies crouched behind corpse revetments. Even dwarves, even minotaurs, even true-hearted warriors hungered there. This was not a war. This was slaughter.
"Trapped with death all around,"
growled Curtisworthy. Were it not for the tourniquet that bound the stump over his sword arm, he would have led a suicide charge, hoping to break through. Not now.
"Trapped!"
Curtisworthy peered over the wall of dead, gazing through a cloud of flies. Only the Alliance's clockwork warriors held the front. Morning sunlight shone across the metallic arms. Axes rose and fell. Lances streamed gore. Artifact creatures chewed monstrous flesh. Only Glaceon's metal workers were a match for the implacable Phyrexians. Mantis warriors dragged flexed steel abdomens ceaselessly and tirelessly among the dead, seeking foes to slay. With lithe claws, they gripped Phyrexian heads. With masticating mandibles, they bit away Phyrexian arms. With 6 legs, they tore the monsters apart. Silver lancers ambled over ground too treacherous for cavalry charges. They moved with leggy motions of spiders, but the speed of horses. Their lances pierced even power-stone armor. One by one, Housite guards fell. Glaceon's greatest triumph were his shredders. 10-foot-tall metal globes fashioned of blades. Gyroscopes whirled in inner circles of steel, providing momentum and mincing meat as they want. In the center of each globe floated a power stone that directed the motion of the ball. It mowed down anyone it caught.
"Machines and monsters,"
Commander Curtisworthy growled. Perhaps the allies could not press forward, but neither would they retreat. Yawmoth would exhaust his defenses, and be caught unaware by the Thran reserves.
"We will prevail. With our artifact army, we will prevail."
"I won't do it,"
the chief artificer protested. The young blonde woman sat within the command core of the Null Sphere. She occupied one of the Power Stone-studded command chairs.
"You're asking me to kill my own people! By the tens of thousands! By the hundreds of thousands!"
Yawmoth glared down at the woman in the slim metal chair. He lifted a booted foot to rest on the sinewy conduits that linked the chair to every distal point upon the sphere.
"I'm asking you to surrender to me the Thran artifact army."
His sword whispered from its sheath and slid gently against her neck.
"As I see it, you have no choice."
The chief artificer did not look up. Instead, her eyes were trained on her comrades. 7 more artificers, strapped to similar seats. They controlled the sphere, where it drew its power, where it channeled its power, what machines it monitored, what machines it compelled.
"I have a choice, Yawmoth. We all have choices. We can refuse, and die, and save hundreds of thousands of others."
Yawmoth simply shrugged. The motion was enough. His Power Stone armor attenuated the movement, propelling his sword along the chief artificer's neck. Steel sliced through skin, through muscle, through windpipe. In the sudden spray, sparks leapt from the myriad conduits. Rank smoke rolled whitely around the chair. Within its glimmering arms, the woman convulsed. She was gone. The sword had nearly taken her head off, but the surges of power through the chair jiggled her dead figure. With a sigh of mild dismay, Yawmoth drew his sword. It dripped across the gridwork floor of the control core. He strode calmly across the metal mesh, approaching the next chair. A young artificer sat, shivering. To have attained such a post at his age, this man must have been a prodigy. It was good. Prodigies are bright, but malleable. Yawmoth casually whipped the shimmering blade on the man's shoulder. It was an act meant to scare him. It worked too well. No blood came, but another liquid, lower down, filled the chair and electrified it. The prodigy convulsed and slowly died. Shaking his head, Yawmoth strode onward. Smoke rolled up behind him. The prodigy cried out fitfully in agony. There were 6 more seats, 6 more artificers, each strapped in place and guarded by Yawmoth's Phyrexians. Even if all of them died, Yawmoth could still take command of the Null Sphere. He knew Glaceon's mind, and in knowing it, he knew all about the station. Even so, it would be more convenient to delegate the duties. He wished to be personally engaged elsewhere. The next artificer was an old man, white-haired and resigned. He had endured half a century of politics and the Artificers' Union, had survived a shifting empire, and hoped to live beyond a few more moments. Yawmoth stood over the man. He stared down.
This is only a technicality, you realize. I myself can sit in these chairs, command this sphere. You save no one by denying me. You save yourself by indulging me.
His sword slid into position in the old man's neck.
It is your decision.
Nodding quietly, the artificer said,
What is your bidding, Lord Yawmoth?
A satisfied smile spread across Yawmoth's face. His sword did not move from the old man's throat.
I want you to signal to the Thran Artifice creatures in the Gaden Defile.
Closing his eyes in concentration, the old man moved his hands dexterously around the Power Stone matrices in his command chair.
You want me to shut them down? No,
Yawmoth said happily.
I want you to turn them on the Thran. I want you to command them to destroy their own people.
At midday, the battle shifted. Groans rose from 10,000 mouths. Thran and Dwarf, Elf and Vaishino, Minotaur and Barbarian, they peered from behind corpse bulwarks to see. The Thran artifact armies were falling back. Mantises whirled about and loped toward the entrenchments. Lancers hauled their silvery shafts from the dead Hellsites, turned the bloody things around, and charged. Shredder ceased chewing through Phyrexians and rolled toward the Thran.
This is no retreat!
Dwarven Commander Kurzworthy gabbled. With his remaining hand, he grabbed his battle axe.
This is betrayal!
In moments, the killing wave of metal and flesh crashed over the commander. A mantis warrior surged up before the wall of bodies and clawed the top corpse from the pile. Razor mandibles scissored in the thing's face. An unholy glow came from its blood-crazed eyes. Commander Kurzworthy swung his axe into clockwork jaws. Edge met edge. The axe clove into the machine's face. It bit deep, splitting shiny panels. The mantis's head gaped open. Gears and wires were laid bare. The mantis did not stop. Axe wedged in its face, it clambered over the remains of the wall. The 6-legged machine towered above the one-armed dwarf. Its 4 claws were lightning fast. It grappled Kurzworthy's head to crush it. The commander hadn't released his axe. Roaring, he wrenched the blade yet embedded into the mantis's face. The silvery skull split like a walnut. Beneath it lurked knobby gearwork. Glassy eyes dropped from its ruined housing. The mantis's frame shuddered, suddenly rigid. The axe swung free. Kurzworthy did not. The mantis still clutched him. Hanging from a bloody ground, he brought his blade up for a final stroke. The edge split the mantis's skull. Yellow stream jetted from his sundered head. Kurzworthy bounded back, yanking his head from the raking grip of the war machine. The mantis collapsed. Kurzworthy surveyed the battle. The front had swept past him. Rogue artifact creatures, Hellsite guards, and Phyrexians scoured the field. There was not a living ally in 100 yards. Worse, a Phyrexian loped wolf-like toward Kurzworthy. It was a horrible thing, with pink skin bursting atop impossibly large shoulders. The same unholy forces that had stretched the clavicles of that beast had extended its jawbone into a pair of wicked tusks. Teeth crowded the mouth above, and fire-filled compound eyes. The Phyrexian vaulted forward, shrieking. Kurzworthy hurled his axe in the thing's path. His aim was true. The blade struck the Phyrexian just as it had the mantis whirr, in the head. It chopped through toothy face and sinus cavities and brow ridge. It cut through the cerebral sac and into the brain. 2 swings and 2 kills, both with his left hand. Except that it wasn't a kill. What unmade the metal warrior could not stop this Phyrexian. The brain that oozed from that cleft was no vital organ. Only the lizard mind was needed to fight like this. With filed tusks and bloody teeth, the Phyrexian bit through Kurzworthy's good arm. Skin and muscle split. Bone crunched. Teeth met teeth. There was blood. Lots of blood. Kurzworthy fell on his back, staring up at the thing. It had once been a man, but now what is it? Hackled and horrid, the monster hunched against the blazing sky. Was this the future of the Thran? Was it the future of all Dominaria? Dwarven Commander Curtisworthy turned his head away. If this was the future of Dominaria, he did not wish to see it. His final vision was stranger still. As his lifeblood gushed out of him, he saw a vast gray orb, a moon hanging so low in the sky that there was no sky. He could not imagine what this thing could be. It gleamed brilliantly. It cast a blinding light on Halcyon, but threw the defile into deep darkness. Into that valley of death, the army of the Thran Alliance fled.
What can it be? What can it mean?
He saw something small drop from the belly of that great sphere. It fell onto the center of the defile, in the midst of the fleeing army. The blackness suddenly vanished in an otherworldly radiance. Dwarven Commander Curtisworthy smiled one last time and was gone.